Welcome to Silent Sunday, where there are no talkies allowed here. Today I am talking about Safety Last! From 1923, starring the great Harold Lloyd. In the last two videos, I've spoken about Chaplin and Keaton, and I feel it wouldn't be fair to not give love to Harold Lloyd. I wish I had started this channel a year ago so that I could have celebrated its centennial, but alas, here we are. Harold Lloyd is probably best known for this movie, but I saw the Milky Way from 1936 before I saw Safety Last, so I didn't even know that he was a silent actor until after I had heard him in a talkie. I must preface that the only reason that I know Harold Lloyd even exists is because of physical media. Lloyd was so smart about preserving his work, but nobody saw them until they released DVD sets of them in the 2000s. So that's how I got introduced to Harold Lloyd. So I have to say thank you to physical media for showing me this man's art. A boy from a small town named the boy moves to the big city so he can make a living for him and his girlfriend. He leaves the girlfriend behind while he tries to make something of himself. Once he achieves his success, he will send for his girlfriend so they can marry. The boy has a roommate slash friend named Limpy, and they are both living on slim wages, so the boy has an idea that could help both of them get the money that they need. I needed to watch this movie twice to give it a proper evaluation, but thankfully the movie is only 1 hour and 14 minutes long, so it is an easy watch. The reason I watched it twice was because the movie is a visual masterpiece in regards to watching Lloyd climb this building. I felt all the comedy that was happening during his ascent, and even though I knew the end of the voyage, I did feel anxious when there was inches between him and the thin air. I felt like I was watching the movie that must have inspired Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes, and I mean that as a compliment because who among us did not love Looney Tunes when they were kids? I still watch them now as an adult. I know that the part with him hanging on the clock is iconic. It's probably one of the most iconic shots in all of silent films, and it's remarkable how they gave that sense of verticality. It's quite frankly awe-inspiring. Seeing the boy climbing this building while the camera pans out to show you how high he is felt more visually striking to me than, quite frankly, most of what Marvel has done lately. This movie inspired Clark Kent from what I understand, so I know how important this film is, and I think that Lloyd is my kind of physical comedian, more than Chaplin and Keaton, only because I'm a skateboarder, so anyone that I see in a movie being a legitimate daredevil is always going to be more inviting and appealing to me. That's just because of who I am. The music is wonderful. I have seen this movie on DVD and streaming, and unfortunately, I do not know who composed the music or if it's just stock music somewhere. I haven't found much out about the music of this movie because all the attention is given to Harold Lloyd here. I'm about to criticize this film. That's what I do. But before I do get into the criticism, remember that I know that this film is great. And I know it's important. And I like it, respect it, and all of that stuff. Roger Ebert once wrote a beautiful review of this movie. And his review will do more justice for that film than I could ever hope to do. What I'm about to do is nitpicking. I talked about the visual look of the film and music the most because I think that the story is very weak. I know that I am watching a live-action cartoon basically, but this movie apparently had 3 writers, and it shows with how disjointed the 3 main characters feel. Especially the character, the girl. That's her name in the movie. I feel that her story is so cold, and she seems only concerned with materialistic life. Like a materialistic lifestyle. And whether or not the boy succeeds seems to be whether or not she will marry him. And that's not how I view love in any way. So her idea of love clashes big time with mine. I do think that the gag with Limpy and the policeman, aptly named The Law, is cute and provides some nice comedy, but there are so many threads that are open and then never followed up on. I'm sure that's the point, but if I'm going to look at this as an art piece, I have to say that the story of this piece does not hold up its end of the bargain. If you do subscribe to my channel now, or you will in the future, and rewatch this, and thank you so much if you do, you will quickly learn that I think most movies that have multiple writers end up being a mess. You can tell so often when one writer has one idea and another has a different idea, and the twain shall never meet. Sometimes that can create beautiful and messy pieces of art. Full Metal Jacket had many writers, and it's one of my favorite war films, so it can work. I think the first half of this movie is all just surface level material that nicely leads us to the main event, watching a man climb a tall building. If that's all you want, then this movie will wow you as it did to me. Now that I have seen it a few more times, I feel the first half is a little slower because I know that we're never going to know if he gets the $1,000 or if he and the girl end up getting married or if he paid his rent. None of these threads from the first half of the movie are answered, and I know they're not meant to because that's not the point. The point is, Well, I've said it multiple times now. I don't want to keep repeating myself. I think Harold Lloyd is probably my favorite physical actor from the silent era because he is just the original parkour person to me. Like, I think he's the guy who invented parkour, or at least in the modern time. I think he was a better stunt performer and physical comedian than he was a writer. I like the movies that have him where he is not the writer more than I like the movies where he is one of them. I like The Freshman from 1925 more than this movie, so this is not my favorite Lloyd film. But I do think it's a good one. I just think it's all visual and nothing else. In terms of importance and reverence, I have to say this is an A-plus movie. But for personal enjoyment, I can't grade it that high. It's just not a complete art piece to me. It's a series of spectacular moments. Let me make it clear one more time. I really like this movie, and I recommend everyone who watches this video to watch it right now. All I'm doing is analyzing the whole art piece, and I think this movie is meant for fun and nothing else. It's not really going for anything deeper, and that's okay. It's just a junk food movie, but it's a good one. It's a good movie for kids because it creates that perfect mixture of comedy and tension. I mention silent films being good for kids a lot on this channel and in these videos because I want them to be remembered 100 years from now. And I don't want kids and their parents to think that the only things kids will like and be popular for liking these days are Marvel and Fortnite. I give Safety Last! A B+. Please watch the whole video if you want context on why it's not higher. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think of Safety Last, if you've ever seen it? You can follow me on Letterboxd. We also review new movies and horror films every Friday, and I will be back next Sunday for another edition of Silent Sunday. And until then, I am Ghost.